Hello, welcome back. I'm Andy, and this is Picture Perfect Greek. I'm happy to see you here. This is my first video after being monetized by YouTube, and I just wanted to thank you, all of you who participated so far and took a subscription on the Substack or sent me your wishes, positive comments, or even money through YouTube. This is very much appreciated, all of it, and it really motivates me to go on with this and to make more better videos for you. And so today, let's go and talk about one of my favorite songs, Menexedenia, Itan, Vouna, by Margarita Zorbala. It's sung by Margarita Zorbala. It is a song written by Theodorakis, and again, Theodorakis is one of the greats of modern Greek song. And you will see it's a beautiful song. It has a very poetic text, and I love the way Margarita Zorbala is singing this. So enjoy this.
Menexedenia Itan Vouna, Menexedenia ta filia.
So Menexedenia Itan Vouna. Menexedenia is a color, a violet color. Menexes is a flower, so Menexedenia is the color of the Menexes, of the violet. Menexedenia, Itan, where? Itan is the past form of ine. So you say ime, ise, ine, and Itan means they were. So violet were Tavuna, the mountains. Violet color were the mountains. And so now you imagine, far away mountainscape in a beautiful violet, perhaps dawn light. So I think this is the kind of picture here. Menexedenia ta filia. Menexedenia again, violet. The Itan is missing here for reasons of rhythm, but this is what we're supposed to understand. Menexedenia Itan, also ta filia. Ta filia, the kisses. And we have talked about this before, right? The kisses, make sure you don't confuse the phili with philia, which is friendship. Philos is the friend. Philo is the leaf of a plant. So make sure you keep these apart, right? Ta filia, to phili is the singular, ta filia is the plural, are the kisses.
Menexedenia Itan tamatia su, katamavrinei monaxia.
Menexedenia Itan tamatiasu. Violet were your eyes. Katamavri. Ine imonaxia. The grammar changes here, right? The time changes. So the other things were in the past. The beautiful violet things were in the past. But now we are suddenly in the present. Ine, not Itan. Katamavri, mavros, is black. And you can put the kata in front of it sometimes to say that something is totally black. And this works with every color. We had it with the color dresses. If you want to go back and have a look at this video where we talked about dresses in different colors and this woman shopping for colors. If you remember that one, she was talking about katakokino, which means totally red. So in this case here, totally black, pitch black, katamavri. And you can do this with other colors, katakitiron, katakokino. It does not always work, funnily. You cannot say katable. I don't know exactly why this is. Kataprasino works, katable does not work. So it does not work with blue for some reason. Anyway, katamavri, ine is now imonaxia. And monaxia means loneliness. It comes from monos, to be alone. Also monachos, which is another word of saying alone. And this is also the word for monk, because monks live alone. And so the word monk itself, right, in English, monk comes from monachos. So a monk is alone, loneliness, monaxia. Katamavrini monaxia. So what she is saying here, Violet were the mountains, violet your kisses, violet were your eyes. But now, pitch black is the loneliness.
Το τρένο αυτό που σε ξερίζωσε μου σχίζει πάντα την καρδιά.
Το τρένο αυτό που σε ξερίζωσε. Το τρένο is the train. This is a direct, not even translation, is a loan word. There is a Greek word for treno which is called siderodromos. Sidero is the iron and dromos is the street, so it means iron street. I think in French they do something similar, but nobody likes to say this word in everyday speech because it's just too long, right? So you just say treno, which is much easier. Το τρένο αυτό που σε ξερίζωσε. The train, this one, αυτό, this train. Που σε, that, you, σε, ξερίζωσε. Uprooted, to pull out a plant with the roots. And the root is rhiza. Xe means to remove something. So for example, xepleno means to wash off the soap from the laundry, to wash it in clear water, to wash off the soap. Xefevgo means to escape. Fevgo means to go away. Xefevgo means to escape, to remove myself from a situation. So the xe always means something goes away. Xerizose means to remove the roots, to uproot. And of course, the train uproots you because it takes you away from your home and from your loved ones, like in this case, and then you're in another place without having your roots. So this train that uprooted you, μου σκίζει πάντα την καρδιά. Μου σκίζει, it tears apart. Πάντα, always, την καρδιά, the heart, my heart. Μου σκίζει πάντα την καρδιά. So the my is not necessary to say here like in the translation because you already have it at the skizi. So it me tears the heart. It to me tears the heart. So you don't need to repeat that it is also my heart. And schizo is a common verb. You can use it for all kinds of things. Schizo and acharti. You can take a piece of paper and this is the schizo, right? So this is a very violent way of saying that it breaks my heart. It does not only break it, it tears it apart.
Το σφύριγμα του είναι για με λιγμός, το πέρασμα του είναι καημός.
Το σφύριγμα του είναι για με λιγμός. Το σφύριγμα is the whistle, the whistling. Το σφύριγμα. And this can be the whistling of human beings, or it can be the whistling of devices like a whistle. So the whistling to of the train, είναι για με, is for me. And this is not entirely correct. That you can say it is a very idiomatic way of saying it, but you would normally say για μένα, for me. So if you talk, you wouldn't say για με, you would say για μένα. But it is understandable, and in this case, it's necessary for the rhythm. So they just dropped the na from the mena and made it me. But you would not say it in everyday speech. It sounds very poetic. Ligmos is the sob, is the sound you make when you are crying, but it is a little more violent than just saying crying, because crying can be quiet and it's prolonged, while this here is the sobbing is a momentary, more violent, but also more short-lived, louder expression than crying. Το πέρασμα του είναι καημός. Το πέρασμα, περνάω, means to walk by, to go by, to pass. the passing of the train, ine kaimos. Kaimos, deep sorrow. We talked about kaimos a lot in another video again, where we had kaimos the song, right, which is called kaimos. And there we said that kaimos is a kind of very deep sorrow. It's not just being sad about something every day, but it is a long-lasting deep sorrow that affects your whole being. So it is mostly used in situations like, love affairs and such things that have a long-term impact on you. So you wouldn't say, I have kaimos because I broke my cup or because I crashed my car. This is not good enough for kaimos. It needs to be something heavier, more consequential, that affects you more in your soul. Sometimes you will see kaimos written with an epsilon, U or a Y, whatever you want to call it in English, and then the two dots, the diacritics, because otherwise it would be kavmos, right, which you don't want. So kaimos with an epsilon, that's the older way of writing it. The more modern writing is this with an eta.
Ήμουν για σένα ο διαβάτης που περνά. Ήσουν για μένα το νερό και η φωτιά.
Ήμουν για σένα ο διαβάτης που περνά. Ήμουν, I was, για σένα, for you, ο διαβάτης. Διαβαίνω comes from dia, through, and veno, vadizo in modern Greek, means to walk, to step, to make steps while you walk. So diaveno means to go by, to walk by. And a diavatis is somebody who goes by, a passerby. Puperna, who is going by. So you just saw me, we just met on the street, you just saw me going by. Isun yamena, you were for me. So there's the symmetry, right? What I was for you and what you were for me. You were for me. Tonero, the water, ke fotya, and the fire. So the very important elements out of which the universe is made, right? In traditional Greek pre-Socratic philosophy, they thought that water and fire are some of the elementary forces of the universe that made the world. So you were everything to me.
Σε κράτησα μέσα στα χέρια μου σαν να σου ένα μικρό πουλί με την αυγή γλυκό και λάιδισες το δειλινό είχες χαθεί.
Σε κράτησα μέσα στα χέρια μου. I held you, σε κράτησα, to hold. This is a common verb. You can say, κρατάω το φιλτζάνι, I'm holding this cup. Κρατάω τα κλειδιά, I'm holding the keys. You can tell somebody, κράτησε το ένα λεπτό, hold this for a moment. So, κρατάω is very common. Σε κράτησα μέσα στα χέρια μου, inside my hands. Χέρια, of course, are the hands. Σαν νάσουνα μικρό πουλί. Νάσουνα is contraction of να ήσουνα. Σαν να ήσουνα. And σαν means as if. You use it to make these comparisons, right? I held you in my hand, σαν να ήσουνα, as if you were. Μικρό πουλί, a small bird, as if you were a little bird. Με την αυγή γλυκοκελάιδισες. With the dawn, αυγή is the dawn. Don't confuse this with αυγό, which is the egg. Με την αυγή γλυκοκελάιδισες. Now this is a compound word. Γλυκό means sweet. You can have a sweet coffee and so on. It's a very common verb, right? Γλυκό. And this is also where glucose, for example, comes from. Kelaidises, kelaido, means to chirp like a bird, to make this birdie noise, right? The bird singing. And when we put the glyko in front of something else, it means you do this sweetly. You can do this with a few words. It's not done very often. It has some poetic quality to it that you wouldn't use in the everyday life, but you can say it sometimes, especially when you talk about small children that are very sweet, sometimes are very cute, we would say in English. The Greeks would, instead of cute, they would probably say sweet most of the time in these cases. And glykokelaidises is this example, but you could also say glykomilises. You said something sweetly. Or perhaps this sometimes sounds like you try to persuade me to do something and you talk sweetly to me in order to make me do something for you, right? So it's not entirely selfless then if you glykomilas to me. Glykokitas, you can look sweetly at me or at him, you know. I might accuse my wife, what are you looking so sweetly at Robert Redford on TV, right? Yetiton glykokitas. And so on, right? So you can put this in a few expressions, but it's mostly things that human beings do that have some cute or sweet quality to them, like speaking or looking. You cannot use it for more, mundane actions like glikoperpatas. This would sound silly, right? But as birds fly away, you too flew away because το δειλινό είχες χαθεί. Το δειλινό is the dusk, the opposite of the dawn, the evening, the last evening light, the setting of the sun. Το δειλινό είχες χαθεί. Είχες, you were, you had disappeared. Χαθεί, vanished. Χάνομαι. Χάνω is to lose. If you say έχασα τα κλειδιά μου, I lost my keys. Έχασα το στυλό μου, I lost my pen. But έχω χαθεί is I vanish or I am lost also. We had another video where somebody is lost and he asks for directions, right? So there he would say έχω χαθεί, I am lost. Can you please help me? Can you give me some directions? Where is the city center or something, right? So έχω χαθεί means I'm lost. You can also say this when you are lost in some, difficult Greek explanation, for example. Έχω χαθεί, I don't understand, I'm lost here. But in this case, έχεις χαθεί, when you say this, in this way, it means you are disappeared, you have disappeared. I have lost you. I particularly like this picture with a small bird, right? I held you in my hands like a small bird. So this sounds to me like it is one of the most beautiful lines in any song. And some of these Greek songs are really very poetic, right? Like this here, with those images of the dawn and the dusk and the violet sky and the mountains, you imagine in the distance, and then this little bird flying away. So this is a very beautiful song.
Κι εγώ στα δάση τώρα τριγυρνώ, μέτρω τα κίτρινα κλαδιά.
And now comes the sad part, because now since you flew away, και εγώ στα δάση τώρα τριγυρνώ. And τριγυρνώ is a word we had before already when we talked about στον ουρανό είναι ένα αστέρι. In the sky there is a star, a famous other song which you can see discussed on this channel in another video. And τριγυρνώ, τις νύχτες όταν τριγυρνώ, she says there, γυρνάει και αυτό στον ουρανό. So when I am walking around aimlessly, τριγυρνώ means to walk around aimlessly, to wander around. But it has to be, it's not like hiking, it has to be more or less effortless, and it has to be aimless. The point is that I'm being in thought, I'm engaging with my feelings while I'm walking. I don't pay attention to where I'm walking. So this is why, hiking wouldn't work, because Hiking requires me to be looking where I'm going and to concentrate and to plan my route and so on. This is not 2 year no. So you do 3 year no in places that you know well, where you can go without paying attention. Και εγώ στα δάση, και εγώ, of course, me too, στα δάση, in the forests, now walk around aimlessly. So in the forests, the plural, is supposed to show you the extent of this, right? It's not just like one forest, but my life is generally within these dark forests where I'm lost wandering around. So it just increases the scale of my being lost too in these forests, right? Metro τα κίτρινα κλαδιά. Metro, this is where the metric system comes from. Metro means to count. Metric, meter, all these words come from metro, which means to count. Τα κίτρινα, the yellow, κλαδιά, the tree branches. I count the yellow branches of the trees. And of course, they're yellow because now everything is sad, everything is dying, it's fall. And so the branches are yellow with the yellow leaves, right? We have to imagine. And I don't have anything to do without you. I am alone, lost, life has no meaning. And therefore, I walk around in the forests and I count the yellow leaves.
Μέτρο τα φύλλα που ξεράθηκαν, τι να μετρεί μέτρο ερημιά.
Μετρώ τα φύλλα. I am counting the leaves. Φύλλα. And I just mentioned this word before when we talked about φιλιά, right? Φιλιά, the kisses, φύλλα, the leaves. Μετρώ τα φύλλα. I'm counting the leaves που ξεράθηκαν, that dried up, that have dried up. Μετρώ τα φύλλα που ξεράθηκαν. Again, I'm counting something, μετρώ. And what am I counting? The ερημιά. And the ερημιά is the desolation or the desert, the situation of being in a desert. It is not necessarily a physical desert, but it's the state of being in a place that is deserted, that is empty, devoid of life. And ametry, the a, you remember, is this a which is the taking away something. So often you can say a as a prefix to another word, and then it means I'm depriving something of a quality. I take this away. This is the depriving a. And there are many other such words. I will put some on the screen. And so now the ερημιά, the desolation, is ametry. And metri comes from metro, count. So ametry means uncountable, immeasurable. So this is the futility of what I'm doing, right? I am going to this desert, to this desolation. I see the yellow leaves. I'm counting the leaves, the yellow leaves in the forests in fall, right? Which is something impossible because of the number of yellow leaves. And therefore, this desolation is uncountable. It is immeasurable. But I am counting it because I have nothing else to do, because you left me. So yeah, and this was it. This was the song. It's one of my favorite songs. I hope you liked it. I cannot put the song up here, unfortunately, as a whole. I know that some of you wish for that, to hear it again, but I will put a link in the description. Go to the link that you can hear the song. It's all over the internet, all over YouTube, but I cannot put it here for copyright reasons. So that was it for today. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.